Hey, my Nova Bites! Time Travelers Nova and Rats here, and welcome to Spectral Phantasy, a game where you're in an abandoned manor and you meet a ghost boy. Let's start. What is your name? My name is Temporal Nova, but we'll just go with Temporal because I never use that name, right? This is probably a terrible idea. You sigh to yourself as you click the lock button on your car keys and give one final grimace to the source of your current predicament. You had been driving home from a get-together at your friend's house when your car had started to make an awful grinding noise akin to a broken chainsaw, causing you to pull over before your engine caught fire or something. Figures that you were forced to pull over in the densely wooded forest on the outskirts of town you lived in. Couldn't your car have chosen to break down in a location that wasn't the prime setting for a horror movie? No, do not start thinking about horror movies when you're currently stranded in the middle of the goddamn woods at 1 in the morning. Pulling the second source of grief out of your pocket, you check one final time to see the no service icon flashing at the top of your phone screen. Of course, your first instinct was to call someone to pick you up and save you from this nightmare you found yourself in. But those hopes had been quickly dashed away. The stretch of forest between your town and the neighboring one your friend lives in is notorious for being a dead zone. So of course, this is where your traitorous car would choose to break down. With another heavy sigh, you start your trek along the side of the road. You had debated sleeping in your car until the morning, but you know your town was only a mile or two from your current location, and it wouldn't take you a ridiculously long time to make it there. Besides, it's not like you'd suddenly have cell service in the morning anyways. You had to walk, one way or another. Terrible idea, indeed. But here you are, walking. However, despite your present circumstances, it truly is a beautiful autumn night. The air is cool, but not uncomfortably so with the sweater you're wearing. The night sky is free of any clouds, allowing moonlight to illuminate the road ahead of you and eliminate the need for the emergency flashlight you had grabbed from your trunk of your car before you left. It was easy to get lost in admiring the way the moonlight filtered in through the trees around you, or just how many stars were glittering in the sky above. There are worse nights your car could have chosen to break down. Still though, you are currently stuck walking along the middle of the road in the forest. Give and take. It's so easy to get caught up in stargazing. In fact, that you nearly jumped straight out of your skin when you heard a stick crack in the woods off to your side. That's fine, it's the woods. There's nocturnal animals. Noises are normal. You repeat that to yourself like a mantra as you continue your hike, now on high alert to the various sounds from the trees on either side of the road. Each time a branch breaks, or rustling can be heard from the dense underbush, your walking speed increases until you're nearly jogging. Your heart is hammering almost painfully in your chest as paranoia ramps up in your mind of all the terrible things that could be lurking just out of sight in the trees around you. Just as you are about to call it quits and run screaming back to your car, you see a break in the trees just ahead of you. That's right, you almost forgot. It's a decently popular urban legend amongst the teens in your town, and you were used to hearing stories about it growing up from kids you went to school with. Braidwood Manor. A giant Victorian-era mansion that has been left abandoned in the forest by your town for God knows how many decades now. No one knows who owns it, nor has anyone seen any for sale signs outside it to your knowledge. It just simply exists, sitting alone and abandoned in the woods. According to the legend, the manor is haunted. You know, like every other abandoned mansion there is on the planet. That's simply a fact of life. Grass is green, the sky is blue, and abandoned mansions are haunted. It's not uncommon for teenagers to dare each other to spend a night in Braidwood Manor. One of your classmates even took up the challenge after his friend had bet him $20 he couldn't last the night. From what you heard, he didn't even last an hour before he was running out of the front doors. You aren't incredibly superstitious yourself, so you haven't ever been terribly concerned with the manor. If anything, it'd been fun to investigate from an urban exploration perspective, just to see how things were back in the time period the mansion was constructed in. Well, apparently that time is now. Rather than endure another minute of your brain plaguing you with the images of mountain lions charging at you from the trees, you take your chances waiting out the night in the manor. After briskly turning onto the dirt path that leads onto the property, you can already see the looming shape of the manor between the gaps in the trees. You slip your way through the gap in the rusted iron gates that mark the entrance to the property, the metal emanating a shrill shriek into the darkness around you, causing you to wince. It is impossible not to acknowledge the beauty of the manor now that you're standing right in front of it. Modern buildings truly do pale in comparison to architecture like this. Every little detail, from the intricate designs carved into the wooden doors all the way to the elegant swooping metal of the porch railing, it had clear love poured into their creation. It's a shame it's abandoned, left to rot out here in the woods like this. You'd love to call a place like this your home. Well, after some major repairs and TLC, that is. As beautiful as the manor was, there's no glossing over the fact that most of the visible windows are either cracked or shattered completely. Wooden planks had been haphazardly nailed across the broken windows, most growing moss and showing clear signs of weathering. No one had come here to perform maintenance in a very long time, it seems. It really is strange that nothing was ever done with Briarwood Manor. You think to yourself, clearly it was worth money before it fell into such disrepair. Surely it would have been either sold off or demolished at some point. After making your way up the creaky wooden stairs, you find yourself standing in front of the doors to Briarwood Manor, and are suddenly hit with a new wave of apprehension. Were you clearly going to do this? It still wasn't too late to just go back to sleep in your car until the morning, but that required making the hike all the way back through the dreaded forest that put you on the front porch of the manor to begin with. If stranded in the woods with a broken down car wasn't the perfect setting for a horror movie, a supposedly haunted abandoned mansion definitely was. No. What were you getting anxious for? Teenagers come here all the time and no one has ever gotten hurt to your knowledge. Besides, ghosts weren't real. Just a bunch of dumb stories kids tell each other to get scared for fun. Alright, enough of the mental gymnastics with yourself. You're going in. Much to your surprise, the front doors swing open with relative ease. The ancient hinges give a groan in protest, announcing your presence to the empty manor. The inside looks nice. You were expecting the front doors to be locked, though at the same time, you really don't feel like looking for another entrance by hauling yourself through a window or something. You pull the emergency flashlight out of your backpack and click it on, the beam of light flickering precariously a few times before mercifully staying on. Worst comes to worst, you can always use your phone's flashlight, but you'd rather avoid draining the battery unnecessarily. Especially if you were going to be stuck in a dusty old mansion until morning. You needed something for entertainment. Well, we have no signal. I guess we can play games on our phone. Taking your first few hesitant steps into the manor, you sweep the flashlight's beam across the room and survey your surroundings. The room you find yourself in seems to be a foyer. A large wooden staircase can be seen at the back of the spacious room, leading up to what seems to be a small landing. There are 2 hallways on either side of the foyer that presumably lead to different wings of the mansion. There isn't much furniture in this room, just a small settee and a few tables placed here and there. However, a large, elegantly carved mirror in the corner of the room does give you a fright when your flashlight beam passes over it, causing the glass to flash back at you. Honestly, you were shocked at how intact the manor was. There's no graffiti like you expect to find in such a popular teen hangout spot, and even weirder is that all the furniture is still here. Surely such nice antique pieces would fetch a decent price if sold. What doesn't surprise you, however, is the sheer amount of dust. Every visible surface is coated with a thick blanket of it, and dust motes can be seen floating lazily through the air, visible in the silver beams of moonlight streaming through the windows. You can even make out footprints in the dust on the floor from previous visitors. Well, since you're stuck here for the rest of the night, you might as well explore a bit more. Where to first? I would be curious about the upstairs, so let's head upstairs. After climbing the staircase, you turn to briefly admire the foyer from your new vantage point. Just seeing one room so far, and you already decided that this is one of the coolest places you've ever visited. Maybe you'll come back sometime during the day. You make your way across the landing and onto the other side of the foyer's second floor. Part of you is worried about falling through the floor, but the landing seems sturdy enough. You're surprised about the lack of water damage given the broken windows everywhere, but you haven't spotted any holes in the roof, so it makes sense, you suppose. The landing leads to a large wooden door with an orientally carved metal handle. You grasp the handle and push the door inwards, revealing a darkened hallway. I think this reminds me of Dungeons & Dragons, or Baldur's Gate 3. The light from your flashlight does little to cut through the darkness of the long hallway, causing your mind to wander about what unseen things could be lurking in the gloom just outside the flashlight's beam. This is not the mindset you needed for exploring a creepy old mansion like this. The walls of the hallway are lined with sconces, I hope I'm pronouncing that. Surprisingly still holding half-burned candlesticks, and the wooden floor is covered with an elegant-looking red carpet. The hallway extended out towards the left and the right, as well as heading straight ahead. Wow, this place is massive. Rich people are on a whole other level. You try the doorknobs as you make your way down the middle of the hall. Odd. All of the rooms so far have either been locked or jammed. Then, the beam of your flashlight passes over a door that seems to be partially cracked open. However, upon going to push the door open, you're met with resistance. It feels as if something is blocking the door from the inside. I'm curious about what's in that room, so let's try to peer into the room. Brave or stupid? You don't watch many horror movies, do you? No, I don't. Not really. You give the door one final strong push to see if you can dislodge whatever it is blocking it, before giving up and peering in through the crack. The room looks to be a bedroom from what you can tell. You spot a large canopy bed against the far wall, as well as a vanity. What's most surprising is how good of condition the room looks to be in. Sure, like the rest of the mansion, it's dusty, but there's no other signs of damage. You also manage to get a look at what's blocking the doorway. A large dresser has been moved in front of the door to prevent it from opening more than a few inches. That's unsettling. Why would a door be blocked from the inside as if wanting to keep someone out? And more importantly, how would whoever moved the dresser get out of the room? This was the second floor of the mansion, so it isn't like they could just climb out the window. Maybe there's another exit from the bedroom that you can't see from here. Regardless, the idea is enough to give you the creeps. Just as you turn away from the doorway, however, you hear a large thunk from the bedroom, causing you to freeze up in terror. It sounds as if something had toppled to the floor all of a sudden. You back away from the door. Your senses are now on high alert for any signs of activity. Mercifully, there are none. Maybe your movement in the mansion simply caused something in the room to fall over. Vibrations from walking around and all that. A nice, rational explanation. With that, you decide to explore further down the hallway. Oh, I would have wanted to open the door completely, though. Luckily, the next door you try to enter swings open easily. You shine your flashlight into the room and look around before going inside. This looks to be a large, cozy-looking drawing room. There are several couches and chairs spread out across the room, and a large fireplace sitting against the wall. Wow, this was easily double, if not triple, the size of your living room back at your house. Who even needs this many places to sit in one room anyway? Maybe the family that once owned Briarwood Manor entertained often. In any case, you step fully into the room and begin to walk around to examine things further. As you walk past a large mirror hanging on the wall, however, you see something that causes your breath to hitch and a pang of fear to stab your heart. There's a shadowy figure standing in the corner of the room behind you. Quickly, you spin around, nearly dropping your flashlight in the process. Oh. Just an ordinary decorative plant standing with a long... just an ordinary decorative plant stand with a long, since empty vase sitting on top. Ah, you're paranoid. Though, you could have sworn the figure you saw in the mirror had arms and a head. No, don't start thinking like that. Your mind is just playing tricks on you. Still, though, you move to the other side of the room to avoid the mirror, just in case. Eventually, you decide you've had your fill of this room and walk toward the door to find another room in the mansion to explore. Just as you go to cross the threshold back into the hallway, you feel a sudden cool breeze brush past you, making your hair flutter slightly. Before you can react, you feel the sleeve of your sweater being tugged on, as if someone was trying to get your attention from behind you. You let out a panicked, startled noise and jump forward before quickly whipping around to look. There's no one behind you, and the room is just as empty as it was 10 seconds ago. A shaky breath escapes you as you try to calm down your racing heart and think of a reasonable explanation. Your sleeve probably just got snagged on the door handle to the room as you were walking out. It's not like that hasn't happened to you at your own house before. As for the breeze, there are broken windows everywhere. It wasn't out of the question. Regardless, you need a change of scenery after that small scare. After heading into the hallway and closing the door to the drawing room behind you for good measure, you decide to head down the opposite direction of which you originally came. The other end of the hallway looks nearly identical, and you briefly wondered if the people who lived here prior ever got the rooms mixed up from time to time. Once again, you're met with a small handful of locked doors before you find one that opens for you. Weird. You scope out the new room and are mildly surprised to see a massive grand piano sitting in the center of it. Speaking of that, the music just turned to lo-fi music. I like that. Your flashlight shines on several other musical instruments in the room as well. There's a cello leaned up against the wall in the corner, a flute sitting in its case by the windowsill, and a violin resting on a coffee table by one of the couches. It was hard to believe that this place was so massive that it had a room dedicated entirely to playing music. Again, you are stuck with the thought of how odd this mansion really was. Clearly, the people who used to live here had loads of money, so why is it just left to rot in the woods? Surely someone would have been interested in buying this place in the decades it's been here. So much of the furniture and decorations are left behind too. Even the musical instruments in this room. It was all just so weird. Maybe you try to do some research on Briarwood Manor after you got home in the morning. Well, after a nice long nap that is, you are pulling an all-nighter after all. You push those thoughts aside for now and walk around the room to explore a bit. The violin on the table catches your attention as you walk up to it. Strangely enough, there doesn't seem to be a speck of dust on the wooden surface. The moonlight shining in through the window shows off how shiny the instrument is. There's a few pieces of sheet music resting on the table as well. You notice they're yellowed from age, but otherwise seem to be in good condition. Maybe one of the teenagers or other people who came to explore the manor before you decided to mess around and play the violin? I mean, it was possible. The more you find in this mansion, the more questions you have. A shiver shoots through your body suddenly. It feels as if the temperature in the room has dropped a few degrees in the span of a couple of seconds. A quick glance around the room shows that a few of the windows are broken, probably just a draft then. You're suddenly pulled from your thoughts, however, by the sound of a note being played on the grand piano in the center of the room. The sudden noise makes you jump as your heart skips a beat. You stand completely still as you stare at the piano with wide, unblinking eyes, debating whether or not to flee the room. It's most likely just a mouse inside of the piano that caused the noise. That could easily be the case, right? I don't think a mouse is heavy enough to play the notes inside the piano. The stupid mansion is going to take years off your life if you keep getting startled by little things like this. Perhaps you jumped the gun a bit too quickly about playing it off as a mouse inside the piano. A mouse wouldn't be able to play a perfect rendition of Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata. That's it. Your stay in the manor is officially over. You really regret giving your classmates so much shit for buying into all the ghost stories about Briarwood Manor back when you were still in school. Maybe if you had believed them, you wouldn't be in this situation right now. Without waiting to see what other nightmares in the manor had in store for you, you jump to your feet and scramble to get to the door. However, before you can reach for the doorknob, you hear something that causes you to freeze up in terror. You don't want to stay for my encore performance? A voice calls out from somewhere in the room behind you, amusement clearly evident in its tone, ripping you out of your thoughts and sending a chill down your spine. Your head whips around to look for the source of the voice, but the room is still just as empty as when you entered. The room is now dead silent, the only noise being the sound of your heart pounding in your ears. Without waiting for something else to happen, you throw open the door and bolt into the hallway, preparing to leave the mansion as soon as possible. Just as you are about to reach the open doorway that leads back into the foyer, however, the wooden door slams shut in your face, and you hear the unmistakable sound of a lock clicking into place. No. No, no, no. This was not happening. You uselessly try to turn the doorknob as your brain starts to desperately trying to work out another way out of the mansion. Did you really think I would let you leave that easily? You just got here, didn't you? Stay and enjoy yourself a little longer. The same disembodied voice rings out into the empty hallway once again, sounding even more amused than before and accompanied by a taunting laugh. Without even thinking, you run down the other end of the hallway, away from where the voice came from, nearly tripping in the process in your haste to get away. You all but throw yourself through the threshold of the first open doorway and you find and slam the door shut behind you, fumbling to slide the lock into place. It takes a solid minute or two before you finally tear your terrified gaze away from the door, convinced that the voice you've heard in the hall wasn't going to chase you in here. Turning, you survey the new room you found yourself in. You weren't expecting a literal horror movie right now. You'd fall in love with this room. Or if you weren't experiencing a little horror movie right now. It's huge. Nearly every available wall is lined with bookshelves full of more volumes than you could ever hope to count. A sizable stone fireplace is nestled between two of the bookshelves with two soft-looking velvet couches facing each other in front of it. Too bad the only thing in your mind right now is getting the hell out of this place. Otherwise, you'd love to curl up here and indulge in some good books. You bite your lip as you contemplate where you could go from here. There are no other doors in the library, leaving the only exit the one you came in from. There's a window on the far side of the room, but you are on the second floor. You can spot what looks like tree leaves outside. Maybe you can scale it down to the yard below. Then again, it has to be ancient, just like the rest of the manor. You don't trust the wood to be able to support your weight. While debating the pros and cons of broken legs, you hear a loud thump in the room behind you, causing a startled or a strangled cry to escape your lips. Spinning around, you see how a heavy-looking book on the floor in front of one of the bookshelves. Why did you even think a locked door would work? Ghosts can move through walls, dumbass! Suddenly, another book flies off the shelf and skids across the floor, coming to a stop at your feet. Trees it is. Without waiting to see what else the ghost would do, you rush for the window and throw it open. the crisp autumn air blowing your hair back. Right as you have gotten one foot on the windowsill, however, a sharp cry rings out behind you and a panic-laced voice calls over. Oh, whoa, hang on. Sorry, okay? This mansion doesn't need two ghosts. Before you can put your full weight onto the trees, you cry out in surprise as two chilly arms wrap themselves around your waist and yank you back through the window and into the library. You, along with what you assume to be a ghost, go sprawling to the floor. Your elbow bangs into the wooden floor painfully, but most of your fall was cushioned by the body beneath you. Ow. Rolling to the side, you push yourself to your knees before casting a glance at the figure behind you. Oh, well that's not that creepy. It's not the creepy murderous ghost you were expecting anyway. He looks like an ordinary boy, probably close to your age. If you had to guess, the only thing off about him is the sickly pallor of his skin and the slight transparent quality to his form. Noticing you looking at him, he quickly sits up and looks you up and down with a worried expression on his pale face. Oh my god, are you okay? You stare at him incredulously for a few moments. Your brain is still trying to work through this whole insane situation. Yeah, I'm fine, but... Before you can finish your sentence, the ghost cuts you off with a sigh of relief and buries his face in his hands. That's good. If my heart was still beating, I'm positive that have stopped it. He lifts his head from his hands and gives you an exacerbated look. I can't believe you seriously tried to jump out the window. That causes you to sputter for a moment before pointing an accusatory finger in his direction. Because I thought you were going to kill me. I was trying to escape. I wasn't going to kill you. Why would you even ever think that? I haven't laid a finger on you the whole time you've been here. You pause and contemplate his words for a moment as you climb to your feet, the ghost doing the same. Well, you suppose he has a point. The only harm that has come to you since you've entered the manor has been purely mental damage. I mean, yeah, but your voice in the hallway was something straight out of a horror movie. I was expecting you to chase me down and eat my soul or something. This gets a snort out of the ghost as he gives you a small grin. Eating souls? That's a new one. No, I just wanted to scare you into the library to keep you here a little bit longer. I mean, you haven't even been here that long. The ghost's grin turns into an apologetic smile as he holds his hand out to you. Sorry, let's start over. I'm Cyrus. You hesitantly reach out and grasp his hand, a chill shooting up your arm at how cold his skin is against yours. I'm Temporal. Cyrus's expression brightens considerably as he eagerly shakes your hand in his before letting go. Nice to officially meet you, Temporal. I am really sorry about scaring you so badly. It's just been so long since someone has visited. I went a bit overboard. Jeez, you're gonna get whiplash at this rate with a total 180 of this situation. No, it's fine. Just, why do you scare people in the first place? Cyrus seems friendly enough. And with the amount of times he's apologized in the last 30 seconds, you're pretty sure he wasn't a bad person, ghost, or whatever. If he didn't want to chase people off, why scare them at all? He glances away and stares at the wall for a few moments before replying with an awkward smile. Because it's kind of what ghosts do, you know? I guess so. His bright red eyes find yours again as before he continues. I mean, most of the visitors I get are people looking to get scared. I like putting on a good show for them. His gaze falls to the floor as he rubs the back of his neck. That did make sense, you supposed, given all the urban legends about Briarwood Manor. Teens purposely come here with the hopes of getting scared. It was practically a Halloween attraction. It's fun for me too. It gets bored here. The ghost's voice takes on a bitter tone as he keeps his eyes downcast. You can sense there's more to it than just scaring the shit out of teenagers for fun. That's why I try to keep the stories going, so people tell their friends and I get more visitors. Are you lonely or... I feel more concerned about Cyrus though. So, are you lonely? Cyrus' head abruptly snaps up to stare at you with wide eyes before he seems to quickly recover and let out a small laugh. Lonely? Of course not. I'm a ghost. Being alone is kind of our thing. He waves off your question with another awkward laugh and coughs into his fist to compose himself. Besides, I have the people that visit to keep me company. Even if only one or two people visit a month, or that only a handful over the decades have ever stayed to talk with me after I revealed myself. I'm definitely not bothered when I say hi, and they run screaming out the front door. Nope, not at all. Sounds an awful lot like you're lonely to me. He brings his hands up to cover his face and muffles a small scream into them before peeking at you from above his fingers. Isn't it that obvious? It's impossible to stop a tiny grin from forming on your face at his actions. To think, this was a big scary ghost you were running from your that you were running for your life from not even 10 minutes ago. He's kind of cute like this. I think it's perfectly normal to be lonely under your circumstances. I mean, I'm... Can't pass on, or... Yeah, I'm assuming you can't leave this mansion, right? A heavy sigh escapes Cyrus as he crosses his arms and taps his foot against the wooden floor of the library. Got it in one. My spirit is bound to the property. Oh, wait. I missed that. Hold on. Sorry. So, let me just load. So, I'm assuming you can't leave this manor. I don't know. It's not like I have a convenient little handbook that teaches me about being deceased. He does have a point. It must be frustrating being a ghost and not knowing what you're doing. You tap a finger to your chin, wondering where you could go from here. You oddly find yourself wanting to cheer him up. A frown like that doesn't suit him. The sheer irony. Like, yeah, he scared the hell out of you and nearly gave you a heart attack. But he clearly isn't a bad person, just lonely. You couldn't imagine being alone for as long as Cyrus has. He can't even leave and go explore the world. Being a ghost must suck. Oh hey, you have me here for the night at least? Come on, cheer up, your smile was much cuter. I'll keep you company as long as you promise not to give me more heart attacks. Cyrus, he's just cute and lonely. I wanna keep him company as long as possible, honestly. You flash Cyrus a small, light-hearted grin as he stares back at you with wide eyes in response. Wait, really? You're not going to leave after I scared you so badly? Nah, I was planning on staying until morning anyway. And now that I know you're not a murderous ghost, there's no reason for me to leave. In that case, how about a tour? We have plenty of time to kill, so let me show you around the manor. Oh, but first, why don't you tell me how you ended up here to begin with? You don't seem like the typical visitor I get. Usually it's just teenagers daring each other to come inside. You want to hear about me? Of course. You're the first visitor I've had in... He trailed off, mumbling numbers under his breath for a few moments before waving his hand. Never mind. It doesn't matter. You're the first in a long time that hasn't run out of the front door in fear by this point. So, I'd love to hear more about you. I clearly don't get out much. You politely declined to mention that you did, in fact, try to run out the door in fear. You don't want to hurt his feelings. Aw. Well, for starters, you explain all about how your trader's car broke down, and how you've had a paranoia-filled hike along the side of the road until you ended up at Briarwood Manor's front gates. I figured an abandoned mansion would be a better place to wait out the night than rather run all the way back to my car. An awkward laugh escapes you as you finish recounting the events of the night. It sounds ridiculous now that you're saying it out loud to someone. So, you willingly came into a known haunted mansion because you were afraid of some completely normal noises in the woods? Immediately, your hands come up to cover your face, and you let out a noise of embarrassment. I thought I was gonna get mauled by a bear or something. You know what? Well, I thought I would get mauled by a bear or something. This causes Cyrus to burst into laughter and hold his sides. He tries to speak several times, but can't manage to get any words out. He calms down after a few moments and wipes a tear from his eye. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to make fun of you, really. I haven't joked with someone like this in forever. You understand? He gives you an apologetic smile. So, let's get that tour started, shall we? Sure, lead the way. I think I'll enjoy looking around a lot more now that I don't have to worry about a ghost trying to give me a heart attack. Cyrus grins in response to your snarky tone. Please. Even if I was really trying to scare you, you'd be on the carpet, passed out from terror. I have nerves of steel. We're gonna play. No, I like this one. Like I could ever get scared of such a cute face. Cyrus sputters a bit, clearly caught off guard by your statement. I don't have... He fidgets with the silver locket around his neck before seemingly composing himself. Anyway, let's get going. Cyrus eagerly makes his way to the door, and instead of opening it, his body passes right through the wood. Right. Ghost. Not even a moment later, the door swings open to reveal a clearly flustered Cyrus. His pale cheeks are even tinted a tiny bit red. Oh, that's adorable. Sorry, force of habit. After you. He holds the door open for you as you step back into the hallway. Starting from the first floor and ending back up here at the library is probably best. Come on. He gestures for you to follow, and you walk beside him as the two of you make your way back into the large foyer. You take a moment and admire the room once again from the landing. Cyrus leans on the railing next to you and shoots you an easy grin. Pretty, right? When I was a kid, one of my favorite things to do was to slide down the staircase railings. My parents hated it. You nod before looking over to meet his eyes. You grew up here? Uh-huh. Lived here my entire life. Well, and afterlife now, I suppose. It'd be a lie to say you weren't curious about his past, but you didn't want to pry right now. You did just meet. Also, it was probably considered rude to ask a ghost what their life was like. What their life was like before they, well, you know. Cyrus didn't seem eager about elaborating either, so you let it go. This way. There's one room in particular I want to show you down here. He leads you down the staircase and into the hallway on the first floor. At the end of the hall, Cyrus opens up a door and nods his head for you to go inside, a smile on his face. Some sort of bedroom or greenhouse? You quickly realize you probably didn't even need your flashlight for this room. It was a beautiful sunroom, complete with massive ornate windows. The ceiling was even made entirely out of glass panes. I know this room is a little worse for wear, but it's kind of difficult to keep it maintained with all the windows, he says, grimacing as your shoes crunch on some broken glass just as he finishes speaking. Sorry, I really have no way of repairing any of the glass. Not at all. I think it's gorgeous. I would kill to have a room like this in my house. I'm glad you like it. This is one of my favorite rooms. If I'm not in the library, I'm usually here reading during the day. Wait a second. Is that why the rooms are in good condition? You maintain them? I try to, at least. He lets out a small sigh and glances around at all the various debris littering the floor. I tried a lot harder in the beginning, but I've kind of given up after this many decades. Besides, there isn't much I can do to stop the elements. I was really surprised at how good of a condition the mansion was in when I was exploring earlier. You've done a really good job. I was fully expecting beer bottles and graffiti everywhere. Maybe even a pentagram spray painted on the floor surrounded by black candles. Cyrus's expression brightens a bit at your joking tone. It's not as if people have tried to do that. They just get the VIP treatment in those scenarios. What treatment did I get then? Cyrus hums thoughtfully and thinks about it for a few moments. You got the honored guest treatment. Just a few harmless pranks. No lasting mental scars. Are we ignoring how I almost jumped out of the second floor window? I stopped you, didn't I? Not a scratch on you. See, honored guest, you're even getting a tour. Now then, let's move on to another room. I think I know another one you might like. The two of you head out of the sunroom and into the hallway again. This time, Cyrus stops in front of a door and passes right through the wood again. You hear the noise of a lock being turned and the door swings open moments later. Oh, I wanted to ask, why are so many of the doors locked or jammed? That's simple. I don't want people getting into them and potentially damaging anything. There are also a few rooms that are in pretty bad shape, and I don't want anyone getting hurt in case the floor gives out or something. But mostly it's to preserve them, like my bedroom, my sister's room, my parents' room. I don't want anyone going in there but me. His expression turns somber for a moment before seemingly shaking it off, and he smiles again. So, the less rooms people can go into, the less I have to worry. Well, we won't be self-entitled. We'll be nice. Thank you for trusting me then and showing me this one. Of course, I've kept an eye on you from the moment you set foot in the foyer. You've been respectful and careful about how you interact with everything you come across in here. So, I feel like I can trust you. That's stalker behavior. You keep your tone light to show you're simply just teasing him. That's a bold response coming from a trespasser. That gets a small laugh out of you. Guilty. Really though, thank you. I'm definitely not the type to cause property damage to someone's home, abandoned or not. Come in. There's another room I'd like spending a lot of time in. Tea room. He leads you into an adorable little tea room. You're immediately taken aback by just how untouched the room is compared to some of the other areas of the mansion. There's not a single sign of weathering or damage from what you can see with your flashlight. The display cases around the cozy room hold ornate plates and teacups of all shapes and designs. Cyrus was right to keep this room blocked off. You can only imagine the field day some stupid little kids would have if they found all these breakable objects. The ghost in question watches you with a bright smile on his face as you walk around the room examining everything. Do you like it? I've always been fond of this room. My sister and I used to spend a lot of time here when we did our studies. I can see why. It's so cute. I love the antique tea sets like these. They're all so pretty. I don't know how I feel about you calling my stuff antique. It makes me old old, which, yes, I suppose I technically am old, but that doesn't mean I have to enjoy it being pointed out. Do you mind asking me when you were born? Cyrus looks reluctant to answer for a moment before he finally sighs and replies, 1843. Foxy Grandpa? What? I'm kinda curious about this one. Cyrus gasps and narrows his eyes at you with a mixture of indignation and embarrassment. I'm only 19. I don't care how much time has gone by. You're only 5 years older than me. Don't worry, Cyrus. Or 5 years younger than me. What am I saying? In any case, I'm glad you like the room. Feel free to look around as much as you want. Thanks, Cyrus. I can't believe you have a room dedicated to me, or dedicated just to having tea. I don't know why I can't speak today, Nova Bites. After a while of looking around the room and making small talk with Cyrus, the two of you leave the tea room and head back into the main foyer. Honestly, there isn't else much to show you downstairs that you haven't already seen. Just a kitchen, a study, and a guest bedroom that's seen better days. There are the gardens outside, and a greenhouse I think you like, but those are better to look at all during the day. So I guess you'll have to come back again sometime for the entire tour. Well, yeah, I'd love to. Cyrus grins widely in response. Perfect. I was hoping you would agree. It's been so long since I've had someone to talk to like this. I hope you don't mind me wanting to monopolize your time. Something about the way he looked at you made your cheeks heat up in response. Right. Yeah, of course not. Great. Temporal, He pauses for a moment, his words trailing off as he seems to be trying to piece together what he wants to say. Thank you. You don't understand how much it means to me that you would come back to visit again. His words were soft, but full of genuine sincerity and warmth. I haven't had anyone I call a friend in I don't even know how many years. If you don't mind me calling you a friend, that is. I know we just met. We can be friends. After all, it gives me bragging rights. How many people can say they have a ghost as a friend? Actually, about that, would you maybe keep my existence a secret, please? I thought you wanted people to visit the manor. Wouldn't that help? Well, yes, but too much attention is a bad thing. The odd group of teenagers or urban explorers here and there are fine, but if lots of people found out, I'd be worried about my home being torn down or something. He fidgets with the locket around his neck, his eyes cast down to the carpet below. Plus, there was this one time a group of priests came in and tried to exorcise me. It didn't work, obviously, but it was really annoying having them spout nonsense for 3 hours and throw holy water on everything. I definitely don't want a repeat of that. I get it. You want to keep the legend of Briarwood Manor being haunted just that, a legend. Exactly, you get it. As long as it is only having a few handfuls of people come here a year, it's better than the alternative. Well, hey, you have me now. I'll keep you company. You offer Cyrus a reassuring smile, trying to make light of the situation. And I swear I won't say a word to anyone. Thank you. You really are a good person, Temporal. Alright, enough depressing talk. Let's continue the tour upstairs, shall we? Cyrus leads you up the staircase in the foyer again and into the hallway that goes into 3 different locations. He passes through a door again to unlock it before giving you a grin. You thought it was interesting having a room entirely dedicated to tea, right? Take a look in here. You enter the newly opened room and shine your flashlight around to examine it. Ah, nice. A game room. Oh, pool room actually. You amend, not noticing any other games in the room save for a large pool table. Billiards, but yes, my father was a huge fan, and all but demanded that we have a room for it when the house was built. He chuckles to himself, using a spectral fingertip to roll one of the balls around on the table. Have you ever played? I'm notoriously bad at it. Sometimes, when I get really bored, I come in and practice, but it's way less fun without someone to play against. I played a few times, but I'm garbage at it too. Since we're both bad, might it be fun to play together? I want to play pool with you, Cyrus. Cyrus quickly moves to the other side of the room and grabs the 2 pool sticks before handing one to you. Nice. I'm setting a rule that if a game takes too long, I'm calling a draw. Go ahead and laugh. but I've seriously spent well over 10 minutes trying to get a single ball into our pocket. Fair, fair. I don't want to still be playing you well into the morning. I have to head home at some point. You reply, teasing him a little bit. A quick glance at your phone showed that it should be getting light out soon, so you'd be able to walk into town. I wouldn't subject you to that torture. Don't worry. The two of you begin playing a game of pool, and you quickly find out that Cyrus wasn't exaggerating about his ability. Or lack thereof, rather. It took him 5 tries to finally get one into his pool ball. To get one of his pool balls into the pocket. And by that point, you already sunk half of yours into a pocket. I was promised fun. You said you were bad, too. I was deceived. The ghost lets out a dramatic groan and drops his head onto the edge of the pool table with a gentle thunk. Don't be ashamed, Cyrus. We have all things that we suck at. Thanks. He mumbles, a small pout on his face. He looked adorable. Cyrus lets out a small sigh and stretches his arms over his head. Well, now we established just how bad I am at billiards. I hope you realize I'm going to practice every day now. It's going to turn into an unhealthy obsession until I can finally win against you. You're gonna need more than just a few days at this rate. I mean, I was playing in the dark. What does that say for you? You can see in the dark, can you? Cyrus gasps indignantly at your teasing and narrows his red eyes at you. I'm going to find something you're good at and destroy you at it. Good luck beating me at Super Bash Sisters then. Cyrus goes to reply but quickly closes his mouth and stares at you confused. What Super Bash Sisters? Oh my god. For a second, I completely forgot you were a ghost from the 1800s. It's a video game. A video game is... You trail off, trying to figure out the best way to explain the concept to him, before he abruptly cuts you off. Oh, I know what those are, I think. Now it was your turn to look confused. How? You can't leave the mansion. No, but did you really think I haven't picked up anything from all the kids that have come to explore the place over the years? I even know what a cell phone is. He smirks at you, looking entirely too proud of himself. Still couldn't beat me at Super Bash Sisters. Try me. Do you have it on your phone? Oh no. There are video games for phones, but most are played on consoles or computers. Electronic devices. You quickly amend, as to not to try to confuse him. But yeah, I have it on my Switch. I could bring it over and we could play sometime. Cyrus's eyes were practically glittering at the idea. I offer no apologies if I get addicted. Do you have any idea how boring it is to have nothing but the same old books, board games, and musical instruments for the past 100 years? I'm pretty sure I've read every book in the library, well over a dozen times by this point. I'm surprised I'm still sane. Holy shit, that's rough. Honestly, I have an old cell phone I could give you. But you don't really have a way to charge it. Oh, do you need to charge phones for them to continue working? I think that explains why the one I have broke. What, you have a phone? Cyrus's expression turns sheepishly as he averts his eyes. may or may not have spooked someone so bad they dropped it as they were running out the door. I kept it for them in case they'd ever come back, though. I think I played it with it for almost an entire day straight before the screen went black and it stopped working. Yeah, the battery ran out. You charge them with electricity and they start working again. Can Cyrus produce electricity? I've heard ghosts can do that, I think. Maybe I can find a cheap solar charger online or something. You mumble to yourself, trying to think of a solution to Cyrus's problem. In that case, I'll figure something out. You offer him a reassuring smile before your attention is caught by the window. Oh, hey, the sun is starting to come up. Time flew by. Cyrus's gaze turns to the window as well, and for a moment, an unreadable expression passes over his pale features. He looks nervous, almost scared. However, he quickly puts up a smile as his eyes meet yours again. Time for you to head back home, then. Aw. Aw, you're going to miss me. Don't worry, I'll come back tomorrow. Yes. No, wait, no, I mean... He coughs, suddenly trying to compose himself, despite the bright blush on his cheeks. I'd love to have you back. You're welcome anytime, Temporal. I'd say I'd come back later today, but I think I'm going to be way too exhausted after pulling an all-nighter like this. Not accounting for the trauma you gave me earlier. Please, if anyone has trauma, it's me from when you nearly killed yourself trying to jump out of the library window. And whose fault is it that I tried to jump out of the window in the first place, huh? Most people just cower in the corner and beg me not to kill them, okay? But now I know for future reference that I need to lock all of the windows. That is the most yandere thing I ever heard, Cyrus. Do I even want to know what the word yandere means? Probably not. We'll save that can of worms for another time. In any case, let's get you home. I'll walk you to the front gates. Now that the sunlight was beginning to trickle in through the windows, you shut your flashlight off and tuck it into your backpack, mentally thanking it for being so reliable the entire night. You walk alongside Cyrus as he leads you out of the mansion and to the large rusted gates that mark the entrance to his property. Now that it's daytime, the mansion gives off a completely new atmosphere. He turns to you with a gentle smile on his face. Thank you for, well, everything tonight. And I just realized he's transparent. He looked opaque in the manner. I'm sorry that I scared you so much in the beginning. No hard feelings. Don't worry about it. In retrospect, it was actually kind of fun. Like a haunted house for Halloween. A haunted house? Actually, no. You can tell me about them another time. You'll need to get home and rest up. Thanks, Cyrus. I promise I'll come back before you know it. I've been here over a century. What's another day or so? Be careful walking back to town, okay? I'll be fine, don't worry. See you later then? See you later. Bye, Temporal. You smile and give him a little wave as you exit through the gates and begin your trek back into town. Cyrus gives you a wave in return as he watches you go. Eventually, you made it to an area with cell service and you were able to call a friend to pick you up and take you home. You lied and told him you slept in your car all night. It sucked having to get your car towed to a mechanic, but mercifully, the issue with your car wasn't going to break the bank. It will be fixed in a few days. Thankfully, you work from home, so needing immediate transportation wasn't an issue. Soon enough, you were back in the comfort of your own home. It feels like forever since you've seen it after such a long night. But looking back at it, you wouldn't change it for anything. How many people can say that they have a ghost as a friend? You couldn't help yourself but smile as you thought about getting into meeting Cyrus again. But for now, you climb into your bed and pass out not long after. Chapter 1 complete. Survive the night. Ah, so this is in sections. Okay, Novabytes, I'll stop right here then.